exactly what lie I was telling in that shit, so I didn't give away who he's talking about. So after every fucking podcast,
why you have to say?
Because after, me and you both know, after every podcast we have conversations and you be like, yeah, I figured you was lying here, here, and here because I know this, this, and this, and I'm like, yeah, I had to switch those shit. So beep won't know who we talking about. So it's funny to do a podcast with the person you actually know, who you care about, who's cool with you, things of that nature. So the Joe Budden Podcast works that way. Last episode, I turn on and I hear somebody's voice, and I'm like, damn, Mal voice is raspy and cracking. I'm like, this don't sound right. And then I don't hear Rory talk at all, and I hear Parks. Parks is a sound engineer. You would never see him on camera. Parks is tall as shit. I've wrote Parks plenty of times. Parks is my favorite because I've wrote him plenty of times on Twitter about advice on how to do this sound on this podcast. And he gave me inexpensive ways to make our pod sound better. And I appreciate him for that because I'm sure Parks get hella questions about sound anyway. And he know niggas ain't got money to be doing what the fuck he do. But anyway, shout out to Parks. And he answered my question, and he was honest, he was quick, and he was like, "You welcome," which blew my mind. So Parks is always my favorite. So I'm listening, and I noticed that Rory and Mal is not there. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I was working, listened to some of it. It wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, but I stopped listening. So then I get up on the next pod, and I'm listening, and I only got 30 minutes in. And I see that Rory and Mal isn't there again. And apparently, there's turmoil with the JBP boys. Somewhere Charlemagne is laughing. Somewhere. Let me tell y'all why I find this issue. According to Joe Budden, it's not about money. It's no beef, but he said they're still his friends. He said when they're ready to come back, they'll come back. Apparently, Joe Budden and Rory, go watch the video. It's a 2-minute highlight clip on on Twitter from the podcast. But basically, Joe and Rory had some issues about some words just was exchanged. And then Joe told Rory, he's like, yo, why don't you take a little break from the pod and then come back once you got your mind clear. Mal didn't like that Joe had the authority or felt like he had authority to say that to Rory. So he's like, I ain't coming back either. So they had some issues, and it is what it is. We're gonna have this conversation again, but men argue for a few reasons.
Sports.
Nah, it's not about that. Men fall out. Let me put it. Thank you. Because the sports thing making me explain. Men debate. Can you make sure the camera's straight? I don't know. So men debate. Men fall out over a few reasons. What you think they are?
A chick.
So women, correct?
Money.
Absolutely.
Is there another one? Is it a particular amount, or are you just asking in general?
So no, those are the two main things. Most people say money and women.
Yeah.
Also, power. Men fall out over
jealousy.
Power. So it
Same
comes
thing,
sometimes, right? And so I think under power comes. I think the structure of power, men fall out over that because it's ego at that point. They fall out. So ego is another one. So I'm locking out ego, which jealousy falls under that, things of that nature. So my mind, I don't think they fell out over money. Their podcast, according to Joe, according to everybody that's there, they're making money. I believe it. I've said plenty of times. I said Spotify was probably gonna have to come to them like $100 million for them to stay. I truly believe that. I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's what I was thinking. If I was Spotify and if I wanted to keep them, I would have told them, yo, we want exclusive rights. Y'all can keep the YouTube, but we want exclusive, but we need that minimum 100. Facts. We're going to give y'all a minimum.
Spotify, y'all want to hit us up?
Please give us that.
Hell, we'll take.
So we need, absolutely. We'll take a yearly salary. We'll take half. We'll take a percentage.
For shit.
We'll take a small percentage and we'll split it down the middle.
No, we're not splitting it down the middle.
Okay.
But anyway, we're not going to get into that. Go ahead, Gavin.
So basically, if y'all ever want to pay us, y'all need to go talk to Key first to make sure she liked them before y'all hit me.
Why you gotta talk to me first?
Since you don't want to split it down the middle, you know what I'm saying? They need to make sure what you getting is cool. Then they can come to me and say, hey, this is what we're offering. But,
that's true. That makes sense.
So,
because I wouldn't take half.
So what I'm looking at is saying is Power. I don't think it was chick. I don't think it was a chick either. Parks is on his way to be engaged. Rory, I don't know what's up. I think everybody, no offense, it ain't like he gonna see the shit. I find it very interesting that Rory does not talk about Sam anymore, which is his fiance, at all. And podcasts leading up to about 2 months ago, he used to talk about how people used to slide in his girl's DM and tell her, oh, Roy said this. And he's like, oh, it was a joke. And, you know, and I think it was a joke. Sometimes we get on here, we make jokes. I talk a lot of shit about women and what. Bro, I got a wife. She, like, when I'm talking about all these old chicks, she ain't trying to hear this shit. She know half the shit be jokes. Like, sometimes you do tell jokes to make the podcast, but some of that shit be real, too. You know what I'm saying? And so I find it interesting that Rory does not talk about his girl anymore. And that might be for her sanity.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's probably, she probably got in his ass and was like, hey, bro, you going to have to chill out on this part.
Because I don't want people in my DMs.
Yeah, I don't want people in my business. I'm going to fuck somebody up.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, that happens. Mal seems like he get bitches every day. So fuck it. And Joe always keep a baddie. So it is what it is.
Is he not back with his baby mama? Maybe not.
Who's Sin?
Yeah.
I don't think he back with Sin. Nah, not with all the prostitutes he be talking about paying on his podcast.
Okay, all right. So, Joe, if you're looking for some replacements.
We are not there yet.
Who says? Fuck out of here. Look, you better start selling yourself
Rory?
short. No, we're going to be Gavin and Keith. Fuck a Roy. We're going to be Gavin and Keith.
Rory.
Whatever.
The point is this. The point I'm trying to make is I really think it has to do with power. Something that drew my attention when I'm listening to the podcast. Parks says something to Joe. Parks and Joe always agree with each other, by the way. And I don't have a problem with that. Sometimes.
Is he black?
Who, Parks? Yeah. No, Parks and Rory are white. Joe and Mal is black. But most of the time, Parks and Joe always agree. Rory agrees with everybody. That's a whole nother issue. For those who not know, I like this podcast so much that when I applied for a grant through Google, they had me to review one podcast. And I filled up a full sheet on my critique of their podcast. What I like, what I didn't like, what I think I would change. Because I really listen to their podcast like that. I make my girl listen to their podcast. I really fucks with the JBP boys.
We need to do that for us.
Yeah, we should. We should ask our followers too. We should ask somebody who listens, like, yo, give us a critique. Like, what would you fix? Maybe we should get 5 people to do that.
Yeah, but he perfect, so, you know.
Fine. So the point is this. Park said something to Joe about because you're the boss, and Joe, like, ran from it at first. And one of my key things I said on the pod was, I don't know if their pod can survive without Joe. I really don't. Let me just say that. I don't think it will. I don't think it ever could. However, I never imagined a day asking and figuring out if they pod can survive without Mal and Rory. Definitely can survive without Mal. Sorry to say, Mal. I'm no disrespect to you. He's a great guy. Mal does not care about that podcast. Like you could tell he fucks with the guys. You could tell he likes the guys. You could tell but if somebody came to Mal and said, yo, if somebody came to Mal and said, yo, if Joe said to Mal tomorrow, fuck you, I don't want you on here no more, Mal would look at Joe and say, cool, fuck you, I'm out. Or if Rory falls out with Mal, and Mal being the man that he is and the guy he comes off from, I think he's from Harlem, somewhere from over there, he has that attitude like, bro, I'm gonna get it without you. I'm gonna get it regardless. So the podcast don't, it ain't doing that for me. I don't know if the podcast can survive without Roy. We're gonna find out. I really don't. I never thought about asking that. And even though Roy's my least favorite person on there, and I have my reasons for it, I think him being the youngest and always just folding to agreeing with everybody on the podcast, unless he's like just super angry and super whatever, that's a annoyance for me. But it's not like I dislike him. He's just my least favorite person on there. Even after Alex. and Savon. You don't know none of these people.
No.
The point is this. So I'm listening to it and I'm saying, could this be the end? I don't think so. I do think it's overpowered because I think most people don't understand when Joe has his name on the podcast, when he's going, Spotify's not asking, yo, can we speak to Rory, Mal, and Parks? Savon, Alex, you know, and the rest of the crew. No, they're saying, yo, we need Joe in here and we need Joe's lawyers and all this shit. And it sounds like it's slightly, some of the stuff is like, if I had to guess, and I could be totally wrong, and I'm probably am wrong. It's not I could be. I'm wrong in saying this, but I'm gonna say it anyway because that's what ignorant motherfuckers do. It probably came down to Rory probably fell out with Joe and was like, "You can't do that shit." And Joe said, "Yes, I can. My name is on this shit." And Rory probably was like,
"That sounds some shit he would say too."
Yeah, and Rory probably was like, "Yo, I've been here since the beginning. I helped start this shit.
Yeah,
I was the one who told you we should do a pod." He probably was like, "I don't give a fuck," and it might just come off that way. And it's like, if you ever watch the pod, you see how they argue, and they argue like friends. Like, it's not like we arguing. When we all argue as our group chat, we can all say some shit and we all know like that night we can still write in a group. It's not like, now if the same shit Brittany says to you or to me, she could say it to the people across the street and they might be like, "Oh, okay."
Oh, we got a problem here?
You know, but when it's us, it's different. So anyway, I just found that whole interesting. I hope they bring it back. Just going back to Power. I think Power is super important. It's super interesting, and I'm interested to see what the fuck happens.
Like I said, you need some crazy.
And somewhere Charlemagne is fucking laughing. Because for those who do not know, 2 years ago, Charlemagne told Rory and Mal, when they were literally critiquing him, about him and who he is and how he's the radio. They think Charlemagne's a character of himself. And there was a moment where Charlemagne was being character-like. A caricature. How you say that? Caricature? You ever heard that term?
That's a cartoon thing.
Yeah, but that's like a mini character of the real person, right? It's like a character of the person. And Will Smith told Charlemagne that. He's like, don't get lost in being Charlemagne the guy and not who you really are. And so anyway, and I thought that was super deep. And the fact that Will Smith told Charlemagne, I don't know if Charlemagne actually did, he said, "I want to talk to you off air about that." That shit blew my mind. But anyway, Charlemagne probably somewhere laughing because for those who do not know, he told Charlemagne told the guys, he said, "Joe always self-destructs. Y'all just be careful. It's going to happen."
Right